Hello Joblers, welcome to another MagicaVoxel tutorial. This time it's going to be on some more advanced tools and how you can integrate this into your work. So I'm just going to create a bog standard box. It's nice and purple. So we've learnt about all these on the left, minus these guys and these things. And that's what today's session is going to be about. So this is mirror mode. Similar to your symmetry, it's going to reflect what's on that axis. If I go into box mode, I'm going to make a different color palette just to have a bit of contrast colors, and I click, I want it to be mirrored on the x-axis. So you're going to see that it is mirroring where it is on top of the x-axis. It's obviously not going to do that on this axis or this axis because it isn't the x-axis. But if I were to copy the y-axis, you're then going to see it does it on the exact opposite side. Same with this. Same with the z-axis. But as you can see, since it's hitting the bottom, it's coming from the top. So maybe move your model upwards and then do it underneath. If we want to do it all three, it's going to mirror all axes as shown here. So axis mode, this is a cool one. So this is going to make the model on the specific axes. So it's only going to move this along the x-axis. If I try and move up, it's going to struggle a little bit. Then try with the y-axis. You can see it's going to go sideways. And if you go on the z-axis, it's going to go upwards like this. Same thing with all three of them. It's just going to completely fill the box, so try not to do that. Cool. So now that is all the gizmos on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, sorted for you. So now we're going to get into your more advanced tools on the right. So the thing with these, they are more specific but relevant tools to the ones on the left. And what I mean by this is they're essentially just more in-depth tools. So your full tool, that is the full volume. So that's going to completely block this out. Fill the voxels with the same color. So that's going to come into what we were doing with the eyedropper. So if we marquee select, and I've got red selected, and if I press fill, that's now going to fill everything in red. Clear voxels, that's going to delete everything on the screen. Or if you reverse the empty space, this is essentially your Control Z, and it's just going to undo everything that you've done. Double the size, so double size and half size, this is actually going to change the size of the dimensions of the environment. So if you press double the size, that goes from 128 to 128 to 256. If you go half the size, it goes backwards. Select all, that's going to select everything in the scene. Select inverse, so say that for example I selected this and I selected the inverse, that's going to select everything but that section there. Select none, deselects everything, and you can mark if you wanted to copy everything, so I'm going to press select all, then I'm going to press copy, and then you can paste the voxels, and then I'm going to move the voxels up. That's control. That has pasted the voxels over. So that is these symbols up here on the right. So let's go into the symmetry, the further detailed symmetry tools. So rotate 90 degrees says what it does on the tin. You can rotate these 90 degrees in any direction. So the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-axis. If you want to flip the model, obviously this isn't going to make much of a difference on either of the axes. This is more if you have detail. Loop, this is for more precise movement. So if you wanted to move it on the left axis, on the x-axis quite precisely, that's going to work. Y-axis, minus, etc. And you can change how big the separation is. So if I press that, make that 20, that's now going to move that up by 20. Scale, this is going to change how big your model is. So if I make that 10, that's obviously going to be 10 times as big. And this also changes the sizes of the dimensions as it goes there. Shear, so this is going to be the bendability of the model. Shear is just going to be translating it and how that moves. Rotate, this is different to the rotate 90 degrees as you can pick the angle of it. So whereas this is 90 degrees, if I flip that like that, say for example, I wanted to now flip this 45 degrees, I'm going to press enter and that's now flipped it diagonally. Flipped it 45 degrees. Let's make that nice and even. Repeat, this is going to tile your model and that's going to, well, repeat it by as many times as you want. So that could be 2 or that could be 5 and that's going to make it bigger and bigger. Mirror, this is now going to mirror your object on the specific axes of your choosing. So that's the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-axis. Diagonal, that's going to change how you want this to be. Diagonal is going to change the direction of it, so it can be diagonally if you wish. And the shape, this changes your voxels into a specific shape. So it could be a cylinder, an ellipsoid, a pyramid, cone, purlin, a maze. Good luck trying to get out of that thing. And a fractal. Even more luck trying to get out of this thing.